Greetings, everybody. Y'all ready to draw a werewolf? Ow! Today we're going to be working with the element of art line as it pertains to contour drawings. In particularly, we're going to be doing a modified contour today, which is a good one to start out with. Okay. Now, the reason that these are important, this is going to be a continuous line modified contour, is that we do not see the world the way we think we see the world. If I ask you to draw a picture of a loved one, like your mother or father or boyfriend or girlfriend, I say, do you know what they look like? And you would say, yes, of course I know what they look like. And I would say politely, draw them realistically. Now, for most people, that would be a ratchet mess trying to draw someone from your mind, even someone that you know. Because what we do is we simplify everything into lines when we remember them. So what happens is our internal reality is more like a cartoon than a photograph, okay? So how do we modify that? How do we correct that? How do we train ourselves to see the world as it is instead of the way that we think that it is or the way we remember it? Well, I'm going to show you with modified contour, okay? So we're going to take this lovely man right here, and I'm going to draw him. Now the rules are simple. I can't look at the page and draw at the same time. All right, it's going to be one line, so I'm not going to pick up my pen once I get started. And if I do look at the page, I'm going to pause while I do it. If I slip up, it's because I'm human, but we're going to try not to slip up. All right, so here we go. Wherever you look on your picture is where you start. Doesn't matter what catches your eye first. In this instant, it literally is his eye. So I put my pen down and I start. Now, as slowly as possible, you want to go across the face or the object, whatever you're looking at. Now, since this is a modified contour, I can pause, look down, see where I'm at, look back up, and then continue. Each contour or edge of the object, contour can be where something is physically turning, twisting, receding in space. It could be a value change. It could be a color change. They're edges. All right. Now, to do this in a professional proper capacity, you could easily kill an hour and a half doing this. But since we're just introducing this today, we're not going to do that. Pause, look down, reset. You're going to notice as the artwork starts coming out, I know it's hard to see now, but we're going to go across the page, that it does not look like a beautiful finished piece of artwork. As a matter of fact, if it does look like that, you've messed up. Now I want to go to the other side of the face, which you're going to be able to see. Now, since it is a continuous line drawing, I have to go across some of the space that I've already gone across. That's okay, because we are going to have edges that we can follow to get back there. It's almost like putting together a puzzle. Now, the beautiful thing of this is, even though we're not going to have a piece of artwork that we necessarily would show, the next time that we draw this, we're going to be able to see it a little bit more realistically than we could before. And you may say, well, how often should I practice this? I make myself practice these contours at least once a week. Realistically, you should be doing at least a little bit of it daily, but in our modern world, that's hard to do. You could easily spend a year of your life just focusing on contour drawings and it not be a waste, because everything you do after that is going to come out much better, much more realistic. I think my pen may have jumped. If this is not a continuous line, it is because of a technical error, not because of intention. Okay, I brought that nose way too high. But we're not going to worry about that because we are worried about seeing the edges and not how this is going to look as a final piece. And I am going a little bit faster than I would during my practice just because I don't want y'all having to wait for me to spend an hour and a half doing this. Get this guy's lips in. Now, you're going to notice I'm drawing from an actual object, maybe a toy, but it's in the physical world. When you practice drawing, it's always best to draw from life first. Second best would be from a reference, like a photograph. And then last, and unfortunately least, is drawing from your memory. Well, that doesn't mean that when you're creating a piece of artwork for a product or art for art's sake, you shouldn't draw from your head. It's absolutely fine. But when you're doing art simply to improve as an artist, unless you start bringing in new information, preferably from real life, it makes it a lot harder to grow. Not impossible, mind you, more challenging. So if you can, draw from life. Now, it would be better if I actually had Rusty in here and I was looking at Rusty and studying Rusty and turning him into a werewolf. For those of you that don't know Rusty, Rusty's my dog. He's a cute dog, but he kind of looks like a werewolf too. He's got a big mouth. Alright. Let's get that gum line in. Bottom of the lip. Let me try and re-angle my hand. We're going to come back up to work on his cheek. Try and find his eye. Look at those beautiful shadows. Okay, we're going to come back down the cheek. I'm going to follow the hairline. Get to his chinny chin. Look at the hairs on this thing. Super fine detail. Now, I would be tempted just to do a repeating pattern for the hair, because that's how we remember it, but don't do it. The trick to drawing hair, which I'll do a whole video on eventually, is to do the shadows in between the hair. You do the shadows in between the hair, the clumps of hair. Think of them as shapes grouped together. And then what is left will become the hair. How deep is that? And that's how you do any fibrous objects. Once you get hair down, you've got leaves down, you've got grass down. Fuzzy sweaters become much more manageable. It's all good in the drawing hood, as they say. And by they, I mean me. Nobody says that. Student Clem in the back of the class says, "Ooh, this is what you were talking about the other day." Yes. Yes, it is. Clem, I hope you have your homework done. Last few times you said your dog ate it. Your mom says you don't have a dog. Clem says, "No worries. It's all okay in the UK." I know. No reason to cry, Clem. No reason to cry. Okay. At this point, hair's coming along manageably well. I've gotten off a few times. If I were practicing for practicing's sake, I would spend another half hour easy on the hair. But I think people might start to go insane. So I'm going to speed up my process just a little bit. But when you're doing this at home for practice, absolutely take your time. Also, we're going to drop a link to our Discord. It's our NeoRealms Discord. And we invite our friends to post artwork in there. Just keep it clean. Everything nice and hunky-dory for all ages. And keep in mind it's an open forum, so there are people from all over the world that might be in there posting and chatting. Keep it clean, or we'll bring out the band hammer. Alright, so I'm going to stop right here. Look at this monstrosity. Okay, the eye's off, the nose is off, the teeth are off, but we have the essence of it. Alright, so this is what we're going to do now. Student Kev says this, oddly enough, still has Mr. King style. And, I mean, it does. This is where I get my sensibilities from. So dig on this. Now that we have drawn this without looking, let's go ahead and try and draw it while looking. Now keep in mind, I would never just start going willy-nilly with just the ink if this weren't a demo video. I would draw my pencils out, make sure that they are perfect, and then I would go in with my microns, which I love dearly, and I would very carefully go through and finish up all the details. Then I would paint it, and then I would clear coat it. Then I would go back in with some nice inks. Actually, I do the inks before I paint it. And then I would do the highlights after coating it with a workable fixative, and then touch up the inks, and it would be done. So I would not willy-nilly just do this with ink. I would do it with pencil first. Problem with the pencil is if I do that on this demo, you're going to sit here and not see the pencil very well because the camera doesn't pick it up. So what we're going to do instead is just go straight to inks, which most artists find horrifying. I personally find it liberating. There's no safety net. It's traditional, so there's no Control Z to undo, which I have nothing against digital art, and you can actually do everything I'm doing with a tablet if you don't have the resources or if you're out of supplies. I've noticed I'm going through paper like crazy at the moment. That's right. That's right, Student Clem. iPad for the win. MS Paint and Mouse. Yeah, if you check, one of the first videos I posted in this series actually has a ton of free resources. You can even do this stuff on your phone with some of the resources we posted. So, you don't have a computer, you don't have traditional, you can use a phone. You don't have traditional, computer, or a phone, that could be problematic. that could be a booger. Now, you could go outside and work with what you have. I used to love sketching in dirt, in the sand. I'd go find a nice coal, like charcoal from a fire, work with that. Primitive man used iron and blood. I do not recommend that at all. But it withstood the west of time. You could take a visit to France and you can see 30,000-year-old drawings and paintings. That's pretty impressive. If you ask me, that's pretty impressive. I think it's the iron, really, that made it last. Man, look at this guy. This guy's fun. We might actually revisit this piece after we do our talks on color theory. I forgot to put the fast forward owl up. I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Our fast forward owl bear. Da, da, da. So, you know, about this time I'll be speeding through this artwork. There's a little gearbox YouTube affords you where you can speed up all of the drawings and slow it back down whenever you need to actually study something for a while. Now, I haven't talked about it yet in the videos, but we're using varying line weight. Our lines that need to come forward in space we're making thicker, and the ones receding in space are going back. And even on the same lines, you'll notice we're going from thick to thin, and sometimes thin to thick. That creates a living line, which means it seems alive, hence the name. And that's how you have these inkers that look like they're creating magic. You think, well, I'm making these same lines, but they're not as alive. They don't pop out. It's because you got to work on your line quality, create a living line, have line variants, all the pop terms, and then it's going to start looking pretty awesome, pretty swanky. The next video we come out with is going to be this same process, except it's going to be a blind contour. And on the blind contour, as opposed to modified, we don't look at the picture at all. One continuous line, no looking till you're finished. And it is, in my opinion, the best way to become a fantastic artist fast. As long as you have the dedication and the patience to do it, you will excel. And much faster than any other practice that I've found. The problem is it takes self-discipline, because you'll go a little bit crazy. 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 Roar. Drop in some shading. Shading with the ink pen is easy. There's a bunch of different ways to do it, which we will cover when we go over our inking sections. It would be about 2 weeks worth of practice and learning. But basically, the closer you get the lines together, the darker it's going to get. And every once in a while you can drop in a shape that's a shadow, make things really pop out in front of it. Be warned though, if you do huge sections with just black, it punches a hole in your picture visually. And so I've found the better I get with this stuff, the less I use bold areas. There are some artists that excel in it. Magnolia, I'm saying that wrong. Like Magnolia. Anyways, the Hellboy artist is a master at it. All the Sin City stuff, masterful shapes. But in general, you got to be careful because you're punching a hole in your artwork when you do completely bold black areas. Be warned. Use it sparingly unless you master it. Alright. here we go. Now, our werewolf has come out looking pretty good. We can color him. We can finish him up with some highlights. We can make him look beautiful. And that is that. Okay, so that's our modified contour. Down below, you'll see a link to our Discord. If you do some blind modified contours, banded contours, make sure to share them with us. Be safe and be good to each other. And thank you for spending some time with us. This was a lot of fun. Later, taters.